bem-vindo a mais um podcast da Forever Brasil. E hoje eu tô muito feliz de ter um convidado que passou alguns dias aqui no Brasil e viajou comigo para alguns lugares. Hoje a gente tá aqui nessa casa maravilhosa do Rio de Janeiro, que provavelmente você já conhece, mas não tinha lugar melhor pra gente fazer essa conversa sobre o futuro, sobre o que ele viveu aqui nesses dias. Então eu quero dar as boas-vindas ao nosso presidente global, Aidan O'Hare. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
What a lovely introduction.
Did you like it?
Oh, it was amazing.
I trained for 1 hour to do it.
So, but it was great.
Thank you. Just saying about the house and the trip we got from Fortaleza, and now we are in Rio de Janeiro.
It's beautiful to be back at the house.
Yeah, it's so
nice. A lot
nice.
of memories here.
Yes.
A lot of great memories.
Yeah. So when I visited here the first time, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I've never been a house such like this one.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So Aidan, thank you so much. First of all, for being here. And second, to give so much energy to Brazil. I'm so excited after those 3 days here. And I know you have already talked a lot. And we are going to record 1 hour now or more.
Bon chance.
But first of all, can you introduce yourself for the people that probably didn't meet you on the events and don't
really
know
hard.
you? No, just say it.
We talked about that this morning, and I'm not a huge fan of that.
Okay, you can talk about your wife and kids.
My wife. So I've been involved in forever since 1996, and I'm English. I'm from England, and I started. I was in the military, and I served a few years in the British Navy, in the Royal Navy, and I loved that. You know, it was a great experience. I love being away. I love being at sea. I love the adventure. I love the camaraderie of it. But it wasn't right for a family. I knew that I wanted to have a family, and so I started to think about that. And an opportunity came for me to go and serve a mission for the church, and I served 2 years in the deaf program with deaf people. And at the end of that, I met my wife, Laura. I've only got one wife. It's the same one, you know. So, and it was amazing. And right at that time, I was just starting to develop. I went to university and did marketing and weirdly linguistics.
Wow.
I don't know why. And I still don't have much reference to that, you know. I did a double major, marketing linguistics, and then we were just starting to get our lives going together. And I met a guy called Dusty Green. And he invited me to call him about forever. And do you want me to go into all that detail?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have time.
And so I remember the night I spoke at a convention. And after I spoke, he came up to me and he had a really nice way about him, a lovely charisma, and I was excited, you know, a great opportunity. And just like with a lot of people, I hope, I forgot. He said, call me, and I completed the next day. We got busy. Laura, we just found out that she was having twins, you know, which was completely terrifying. And it's interesting, I didn't tell you this, but I was thinking about it when I was telling the story earlier, is that my first response when the lady said there's 2 babies was to call my mom. I don't know what that is. It's amazing, huh? Like, even after I was old, I was married, I was gone. I was like, I got to call my mom. And I found the money and I called mom, and I needed to hear her voice. And it's really interesting how we have to go back to the mothership sometimes, you know, but anyway. And so all of that process was going on, and I completely forgot about this conversation. And about 2 months later, he called me back. And I am deeply grateful for that. If he never would have called me, what would my life look like? Here I am sitting in Rio talking to you. That never would have happened. And I wouldn't have traveled the world like I had. I wouldn't have experienced the things I had. I wouldn't have, I don't even know how to consider what my life would have looked like. And so it was funny. He called me, it was a Wednesday. And for the FBOs that are listening, it's a great lesson in follow-up. It's a great lesson in the importance of follow-up, because Dusty could have seen my rejection and took it personally and never called me. And can you imagine? It would have broke my heart, you know? And but he was brave enough to follow up, and he called me. It was a Wednesday. The next day, I happened to be in the area where the office was. And it was a beautiful office. It was like this, but they just moved in. There was no furniture. There was 4 plastic chairs and this big house, like this one, big manor house. And I sat on this plastic chair, and this old lady next to me, and forgive me for saying old, her name was Knapman, Mrs. Knapman, and she was 80 years old. She was dressed in a tweed suit, like, I think traditionally English. Mm-hmm. And she sat next to me, and she kind of put her hand on mine. She said, "Why are you here?" And I said, I remember really specifically, you know, in life, you have those defining moments. Mm-hmm. Where were you when Princess Diana got shot, or, you know, those things? Mm-hmm. Where was I when I first realized this was my life? Was in that plastic chair. Wow. She said to me, "Why are you here?" And I said, I don't know. I think for an interview. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And she said, and then she started to explain her story. And do you mind if I share that?
You have the whole time, so I really would like you to share everything.
And because this is where the moment the light bulb went on. I believe people can change in an instant. A lot of people say change takes time, and in some instances it does. Think of a wellness journey or something. In this instance, I changed like this. Same, forgive me for this one. It's the same as motherhood. The minute you gave birth, in that second, you'll never be the same again. Mm-hmm. You've experienced that. Yeah. A lot of people experience that. Although it's a weird analogy, but it's one I use to say, that's how fast you can change. Mm-hmm. She said to me, she told me about her life growing up in the 40s in the war in England. She was broke, poor, struggling. She told me about the struggles with her family. She got married, had children, worked hard her whole life. And she was 80 years old, and she said to me, the question isn't, why are you here, Aidan? She said, the question is, why would you stay? She said, the reason I stay is because in forever, I was able to go to a restaurant, eat good food that I didn't have to go and buy, bring home and prepare and cook, and then clean up afterwards. That's when my life changed. In that moment, when I realized that 80 years old, she was seeing things she'd never done before. That's why I do what I do. And in that moment, forgive me for getting emotional, even 30 years later, after all of the things I experienced, I can still hear her voice and I can still smell her clothes. Because that's when I realized that if I, in some tiny way, could contribute to that feeling, that an 80-year-old can change her life and experience things as simple as that was, I'm all in. So then the door swung open. And this little guy, he's little, he's short, much shorter than me. And he had a bald head and big white teeth. All charisma, heart, and personality. Grabbed the door, come on, sit down. And he asked me questions for like 15 minutes. He didn't tell me one thing. I didn't know anything about the business. Mm-hmm. How are you? What's important to you? What's your family? Tell me about this. Tell me about that. What's your life? All about me. I felt like the most important person in the world in that moment. I left and he said, I'll see you tomorrow. And like, this sounds like a story. I get it, but it's true to me. It's true. And I said, where, when, what time? 9 o'clock here tomorrow. You're starting work. I didn't even know what we did. Okay. The next day was a leadership meeting with the FBOs. Listen, when I say I knew nothing, I knew nothing. Amen. And he invited me in, and it was with the top leaders in England. They called it the LEC at the time, the Leadership Executive Committee, almost 30 years ago. And I sat in this room listening to stories and case credits and product and challenges and arguments. And I thought, man, freaking inject this into my veins, and I was freaking all in. So that's, forgive me for the big explanation. I don't tell that story very often. That is how the magic happened for me, And now you are for how long here? Because it's a long time. And I love it, honestly, more than I did then. Yeah. 30 years? More. The more than I love it more. I am in South Africa and I hear of a woman whose husband beat her up, threw her out of the house. She had 4 kids, no money. And she had to live on the street, but found a product, sold it for a little bit more than she bought it for, and kept doing that. And now she has a life for her family. Only thing she had was a wheelbarrow. Or a lady in Israel. Husband left there, 3 kids, no money, nothing. and our son's now at the PSG Academy.
Wow.
Now, I know these are massive stories.
Yeah.
And I know that, but what about the millions in between that just do a little bit? Because this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something you'll come in and, and all of a sudden be driving silly cars and doing stupid things. It's not that. And if you hear it is that, run away. Mm-hmm. Because it isn't. This is a genuinely difficult, long-term life investment. And it's a long story. Anyone you see at the top, they've climbed that mountain. And I love that.
Yeah, I can imagine the numbers of stories you hear.
Yeah.
And I just go and move on my questions, okay?
Yeah.
Because in those 2 days with you, I've heard so many nice things that you do and provocations and so on. So one of the things is, you said that no money in the world would pay you to leave your family. Mm. So can you go deeper on that again? Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you travel 150 countries and spend time with people? What is behind that?
Wow. It's a privilege. I read a book called Good to Great. Do you remember that book?
I read it too, yes.
And you remember it said in there, I can't remember, let me think now, but one of the things is find something that you are deeply passionate about, something that drives your economic engine, and something you can be the best in the world at. Those 3 things are important to look for. Now, of course, I'm never going to be the best runner in the world. You've all seen me run. It's freaking pathetic, But I can be the best in my world. I can be the best father in my world. I can be the best husband in my world. I can be the best colleague in my world. And I kind of adjusted it to be like that. But the one that refers to your question is, what are you deeply passionate about? Not what are you passionate about, not what you like. Mm-hmm. Because my personality and yours, we like everything. Mm-hmm. There's very little, like, you don't like octopus, I know, but there's very little that we don't like. It's just our nature. But there's an emotion deeper than that. What are you deeply passionate about? Mm-hmm. That emotion is what makes time stand still and takes your appetite away. Mm-hmm. When you find something that does that, do it. That's what this does for me. So I'm deeply passionate about the people experience. And I know that sounds romantic. I know that everyone says that. And I don't know how. I don't have the words or the ability to communicate it enough to say that it is just the way I'm wired. Mm-hmm. And so if you said to me, Aidan, now, like you asked me about my family, I have 6 children, Jack, Sam, Jonah, Bella, McKay, and Finn. And they have wives, Ellison and Alexa, and they have children, baby Kate and baby Betty, and Jack and Alexa have another baby on the way. They're not everything to me. They are who I am. They're not. Do you know what I mean? There's no line that you can carve and say Aidan and them. It's just we are. Mm-hmm. There's a great expression that all things subscribe to one great whole. We are whole. So could I separate myself from that for an amount of money?
No.
Right?
No.
It doesn't exist, mm-hmm. What's the number? Mm-hmm. And so I had to find something that I'm deeply passionate about. And right now it's being here with you. This morning it was being with our staff. These brilliant people that sacrificed so much for us. In that moment, I don't want to be anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And that I absolutely love about what I do. It's the same for you as, Eric and John Paul at home. Why do you leave them?
Mm-hmm. Because of the people, because of the purpose of being here. We have this conversation yesterday, that it's not about me. It's about what I have to do right now in terms of vision, purpose, why I have worked until here. And now it's completely different. I think it's the first time that I have a job, and I don't know if I can say this, but that has purpose on that. And it changed completely the way you do it.
It's amazing.
It's not for my career. Yeah. It's not a job title. It's not my salary. It's not the trips. It's nothing like this. It's just why I'm here.
When did that light go on for you?
I think like 2 years ago, I started to think about what I'm going to do in the next 10 years of my life. And I think I was pretty comfortable to start thinking on that. And I know there is a lot of people that are still struggling, even though working 20 years, 30 years. I wasn't. I could like think about it and take time to plan. And I was planning another thing, you know. But then just forever appeared in my life and seems like this is the place that I should be right now. And I'm sure of those days that I took the right decision.
Think about those 20 years, that preparation. What skills, talents, attributes are you going to bring to bear here that you didn't ever realize that you were prepping for?
Wow. I am interviewing you. It's not the opposite. What is this?
I'm just curious.
Okay, first of all, I think I love people. I love hugging. And, you know, I think I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
Yes, I took a long time since like beginning of this year working at home because I was just managing foreign countries, not Brazil. And those 2 days in São Paulo and Fortaleza, I saw, I really like hugging.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a very relationship person. I like hearing stories. I like, you know, to help them, to be useful in somehow. And I know that sometimes just a hug or a word can change our world. Because one day someone did it for me. One day someone look at me and say, you can do it. You have the skills. So probably hugging is one I found out right now. Also, you know, give me spotlight to others. I don't need this anymore. Like I have everything I would ever dream of in terms of building my life. You know, things that you think it's going to fill you and it really fills, but then you need something more.
It doesn't know. I know exactly what you're talking about. You think when I reach this, it's going to feel like this.
So if I have a family, if I have a house, if I have enough money, if I have the car, if I travel, it's going to be enough. But then when you have it, you see, okay, it's good. It's okay. Thanks God you gave me all this. But now I think I need something more that it's not about me. Once I've been at training and this guy blew my mind, it was like 5 years ago, maybe more, 6 years ago. I think I was pretty young on that time, but I still remember this. He said life was, you could put a pyramid below and then inverted. Yeah. So the below is your first needs, like a Maslow pyramid. And then you're growing up and then you are socially enough and filled. But then great people, they just invert it. And they start to work like if something is not about their life, it's about the other's life. And for example, I was just showing you the products I did on COVID. It's nothing about what I do now, and I'm not good on that. But on COVID, we were suffering so much being isolated at home that having the chance to give something that I liked to another people that didn't have the money or time or expertise on that was just feeling me on that moment. So it's this. I think it's completely different because probably my last position was on this Maslow pyramid.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that because when you showed me and what Paula was saying about the COVID experience was that you and some friends identified homes that needed refreshing.
Yes.
And you picked rooms and you went in and planned a month or so and you painted the rooms and made them look brilliant and included them. It wasn't, you know, you included the people involved, the people you knew and people you were associated with. As you showed me that, and I was deeply touched by that, I was thinking that's a perfect analogy for what we do in Forever.
Okay.
Is people welcome us into their lives and they say, can you help me make it a little better? Make it look just a little bit better. Not change everything. That's not our job. Put a little bit of color on the walls, a little bit of confidence here, a little bit of wellness here, possibly more community, and maybe, possibly even some better finance.
And you know, something
it's a great
that,
analogy for what you were doing.
Yeah. But in something that really, after starting here in those 40 days, but since the beginning for me was very clear, talking with FBOs, the huge opportunity we have in our hands because we have amazing products in terms of wellness that makes your life better, your body better, and which means also your mental health gets better when your body's better, it's healthy, but also a market plan, a business where anyone can join. And then you go to this old lady. So we give them the opportunity to improve everything they need. In terms, sometimes they're going to come because of the products I need it. And we have heard so many stories those days, and probably you know a lot of them, but also from the chance of doing something that nobody gave them, or because they are too old, or because they do not have graduation, because they do not speak another language. You know, so many no's they got in their lives, and here they can have a yes. So thank you for giving me the opportunity of leading right now, Brazil.
Hey, you took it.
Yeah, but you gave me.
So I want to, the 40 days.
Yeah.
It feels like you've been here forever. You know, if I was an FBO, I'm watching this, and we had the same leadership for years, which is great. And here I'm facing this change now. I'm a little bit scared as an FBO. In those 40 days, what do you think? And then I am going to interview a little bit, because I want to talk about your experience, because we're talking emotional stuff now, and it's lovely. It's perfect. It's very important. But there's also a very professional base to you. Do you know what I mean? You're a well-educated corporate professional. You understand quality, supply chain. In fact, you managed a quality organization for a long time, and then, you know, and you managed a lot of remote businesses, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things, 40 days. What did you observe?
Wow.
What did you learn? What shocked you? Let's start there.
What shocked me?
Let's start there.
Okay. First of all, I think the first company I've been that customers, and we can call here, they are the FBOs.
Yeah.
Has a lot of power and importance here.
Yeah.
It shocked me, because when you say leaders, in the beginning I say, which leaders they are talking about? For me, leaders would be like the leaders inside the organization. So I took some time to understand what was leaders here. And so the importance of this network marketing and those people is amazing. I've never seen this before.
And not just network marketing, but Forever.
Yeah, at Forever.
Forever has a very open.
Yeah. For example, the trips you give, all the marketing plan there is so generous for them, and trainings and everything is like, it's for them. It's not for Forever. It's for them to improve, to grow, to have the chance. No, thank you. Not right now. To give the chance to them to move on. So yeah, I think it's the first company I've been where customer has really voice inside. No, they contribute, they are heard. That also shocked me. Like, and I teach about customer experience. You know?
Now you're experiencing customer experience.
Yes, really on practical. It's so hard to find companies where you see this on day by day on culture.
Yeah.
And here it is. So.
And it starts at the top. You know, Rex was 100% like that. Open door policy, he called it. And then Greg is
like you said this morning, I love, you said this, I love when I receive complaints from FBOs, emails from FBOs. This means they are engaged.
Yep.
So usually CEOs, presidents, VPs, they do not like to receive complaint. Nobody likes to receive complaint. Let's be honest. Like, I have so many things to do when you are complaining about a lamp, no? But then you bring like such a fresh vision on that, and how you really excited to see someone on details being worried about us.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine the energy it takes for someone to come to you to tell you something's wrong? We should be paying them. And I teach that, you know, like I say, when someone complains on you, they are giving the most important thing. There is no price, their time. Yeah.
They could just be doing something else. How many times do you complain in a customer care, or you just prefer to change a brand, or just say, I'm not going to buy from them anymore. So when someone gives, it's not a complaint, it's a time that they are giving. So, you know, I teach that stuff. But for the first time,
to live it.
I'm living it. So, and yeah, that's the most shocking part. We are not used to this in Brazil.
Yeah.
In terms of environment and companies.
But that's why we can make this such an amazing opportunity.
For sure.
Because that community side of our business, I believe, and I don't have statistics on this, but the greatest sickness in the world today is loneliness.
Yeah.
People, even in crowds, are genuinely lonely. Because we're not communicating on a level, we're not being recognized, you know. Hiram Smith said, many years ago. He was the, do you remember Franklin Covey? Do you remember the organization? You remember Stephen Covey wrote 7 Habits?
Okay.
Well, he partnered with a company called Franklin. And one of the founders, Hiram Smith, came up with this concept that there's 4 basic human needs. The first one is to survive. We have to drink, we have to eat, and all that sort of stuff. And I add money to that now. You can't even buy a bottle of water without money nowadays, you know. The other one is to love and be loved. The other one, feel important. And the last one, variety. And if you're not getting those basic things met in your life, it's really tough. And that's why I hope that Forever can provide, as romantic as it sounds, because we are a professional business. We're a business for profit that provides, you know, great products globally. But can the motivator, can the verb be, it's a bloody good place to be. I just feel good being there. Because I think if we can get that section of the world that feels lonely, comes into one of our meetings, feels welcome, supported, safe, heard, understood, recognized. Can you, the limit just blows my mind. People we plowing in, saying, inject that into my veins. And I don't mean as a medical claim. I'm talking about as a, you know, it's just help me to feel like that. When we recognize people, even the smallest steps in the marketing plan, they come on stage and they're in front of their peers. How must that feel for someone who sits in a cube and never gets recognized?
Oh, for sure.
Why can't that be our USP? Why can't we be the friendliest company in the world?
And then just coming back to Brazil, you said something. Brazil could be the most friendship community, like.
Yeah.
And tell me about those days here in Brazil, and probably you spend more time than last time here. This time, like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes, 4 days. How was for you? What do you think about Brazil?
I could live in Brazil.
You could?
Yeah.
You're just saying that.
No. There's 2 countries that I feel an affinity to.
Okay.
3, because I'm English, you know, and I know the American's going to say, what about America? I live there and I love it, you know. Romania.
Okay.
Romania is, the heart of Romania beats so hard that no one could conquer them. In the midst of all of that Cold War, Romania just stood up. And yes, you know, Ceausescu came and did his thing, but there's something about their resilience that just fills me. And you go there, you just feel, Brazil has the same. The Brazilian people, and especially the Brazilian women, and forgive me to saying it like that, they have an ability, a sisterhood that is universal and it's visual. You can see it. And it's in my opinion, and people might get mad at me, I don't see that like I do here in Brazil. They have a glow to them. Like I told you the story the other day, I said to my wife in a restaurant, I said, what's this? And I shout, you know, some Brazilian one, parabéns. I said, hey, parabéns. You know, and the guy looks over and I said, what part of Brazil are you from? He said, how do you know I'm Brazilian? Everything says you're Brazilian. The way you walk, stand, you just have a gravitas about them, which I just love it. That is going to make you number 1 in the world if we can get unified. If we get unified in purpose, there's no doubt in my mind that'll happen. And that's why we're here. And we get to swim at the beach at Copacabana.
You like it. Wow. Yes. And took a guarana, drink a guarana also.
Dude, I could have died this morning in that ocean. I would have died the happiest I've ever been. It was just amazing.
No, Brazil is amazing. I love my country. And I think...
the people. The people.
Yeah, the people here for sure. Yeah. It's not the country itself. It's like all the environment, all the people that we have. And we have been in Northeast that is different from the Southeast. But everybody with this warm, welcome, warm way of conversations. It's like you know them forever.
Yeah.
No, nice hugs. And it's really
like the
truly...
lady at breakfast this morning.
Yes, she was so nice,
yeah,
no?
She was our sister in 5 seconds.
Yes, you know? She was saying, you speak English very well. What do you do? And then we started talking. And she's like, what kind of tips can you give me? And I have never seen her before. Yeah. And it was so nice. So this is Brazil.
Yeah.
And I love being here. And I think
if there was ever a country that was, or a people that was created for forever success, it's right here.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
What are you missing? You know, you got a wellness focus. The Brazilian people are typically really wellness minded. the community aspect of it, your family, the culture. The other thing I love about the Brazilian is if there's a rule, I want to bend it or break it. It's just the way. If stand in this line, they'll stand 2 feet that way, just because, you know.
Uh-huh.
And there's something about that generates a fun energy. And the people unite against the man.
Mhm.
You know, whoever that man is. You know what I mean by the man, the
Yeah.
system. The
Uh-huh.
people unite against the system. I think that generates a wonderful energy. So you've got the wellness aspect, you've got the community aspect, and then there's the educated business mind that's here. The entrepreneurial spirit is strong here.
Mhm.
And I know there's a lot of criticism about the infrastructure and about the economy. Brazil's a pretty strong country, you know, and it has
Resilient, maybe also.
very resilient,
Yeah.
willingness to accept and overcome. Put all that together, it's like, you know, the petri dish of all success, you know, and that's the way I see it. And that's why I love to be here.
And probably looking at all the values you were showing those days to us on the brilliant tree.
Yeah.
Maybe grit. We have a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah, but
think
all of them.
you're- Yeah.
All of them. Maybe execute gets a little bit lost on a Sunday afternoon, but you know, all of the talents and attributes of the growth acronym.
Yeah. Can we go on this story, like when you were invited or questioned by Greg if you were ready? Because I think this is an important question to Brazil. We're aiming and dreaming on being number one.
Yeah.
And the question is, are we ready?
Yeah.
And you were questioned by that from Greg like 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So please tell them.
Yeah. It was a really unique experience for me. And I want to tell it authentically in the sense that there's an element of successful people that are what's the word I'm looking for? They are looking for the next step. I was the same way, you know, and I'd worked 25 years in forever. I'd been all over the world. I'd worked in just about every department. And so on paper, I was a pretty good candidate. I didn't even know they were looking, you know, but I was a pretty good candidate. And I say that from the outside because what I'm going to tell you now is from the inside. It's completely different. I was ambitious. And if you would have said to me, you know, sitting right here and it hadn't happened, do you think you could be the president of Forever Products? I probably would have said yes. Until he walked into my office and said, are you ready? Are you ready for what? And he said, are you ready? And literally I had no idea. He said, are you ready to be the president of Forever Living Products? In that moment, I realized I was not ready. Even though I had on paper the skills, talents, and attributes, maybe. The moment when I realized the scale of it, the responsibility of it, and also what wasn't lost on me was I was the first a non-member of the family to be in charge. I was the first one. And that, the 150 countries, the languages, the cultures, the people, the mortgages that are paid, the products that are shipped all over the world, all these things just hit me. And I started to cry. Right in front of him. I was sitting at my big desk in the office. He stood there. And thankfully, we're like brothers, you know, and he didn't judge me, you know. And I started to cry and left. I just went home. I drove home. And I remember every mile driving home, and it was kind of this sort of like up and down. It was like, wow, you did it. Oh my gosh, right? And it was like, you know, it was like, oh, well done. No shit, you know. And I finally got home, walked in the door. I didn't say anything to anyone. I went and sat on the end of my bed, and I was thinking about contemplating to go out to ride a horse or something, and I started to cry again. And it was serious crying. It was like shoulder shaking, a little bit of snot type cry. It was like full on ugly crying, you know. My wife, my beautiful, I don't know why I was blessed with the lady that I was to be my partner forever, but she is magnificent.
Yeah.
And she sat by me, and as embarrassing as this sounds, she started to stroke me like a dog. She was stroking my back, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be in charge of this $1 billion company, sitting on the end of the bed crying, and my wife's stroking me. I was like, oh my gosh. So I think the point you're trying to make is I realized I wasn't ready. And I realized in 1,000 million ways I wasn't ready, except I was surrounded by brilliant people, a wife that loved me and is a phenomenal cheerleader. Like, she calls me in the mornings to say I look handsome. I don't look handsome, but she does it because she's magnificent. And so the next day I woke up and I said, we've got to change this. And it starts here. I had to change me fundamentally. And that journey has been difficult. It has been frightening, but also thrilling and wonderful. And I don't know how much time I could tell you little pieces of it.
But then you can just bring, like, you found out you needed to change some things and you started with the growth mindset.
Yeah.
What is the growth mindset? What is behind it?
So that started, I had a good friend called Wolfgang, and I want to give him full credit. He's a phenomenal man, and he's struggling right now. He's a bit sick, and I called him and invited him to have dinner with me because I have a lot of respect for him. He has loads of businesses and, very, very successful financial technology guy. And I have a lot of respect for his ability to bring teams together. And he sat down, we went for lunch, and a friend of ours came called Brian, he's a very successful banker. And he just has this amazing ability to formulate ideas. So I said, here I am, just put in charge of this company. I know the company intricately well. We're in a bad spot, a tough spot. The owner had just passed away. He was a remarkably powerful mentor and an expression, a talisman. It means something to look for, and he always shined the way in everything, even in all our board meetings. I remember one meeting, we were voting, and everyone in the room was like, no, I don't like it. And Greg says, I like it. Let's do it. It was 14-1 and he won, And there was something about that was really fun. And so we'd just lost him. And then there was the estate stuff going on with the company about how to handle who gets what and all that. And it was right after COVID, and COVID hit us hard. The first year, we couldn't do anything wrong. The second year, it was tough. Governments were closing down roads. They were closing down ports. They were locking people down. And this was going on every day. And we were just 20 hours a day trying to keep the business floating. We didn't want to raise the prices. We had a commitment, even though the cost of shipping our product around the world was 1,000% more, we tried to keep it the same. And all this was going on. And the company had come out of that, and we were 10% down globally. And here I am. And so all of this was going on, and it was too much. So I asked Brian and Wolf, how do I, and like with all of us, how do I make this problem small enough to eat the elephant, right? Mm-hmm. One bite at a time. What's the first bite? And Brian said, you have to generate a growth mindset. The whole company has to be built to grow, because if you're not growing, you're dying in business. And that was the genesis. So then I said, how do I teach that? Growth mindset, mm-hmm. It's like live, love, laugh on your fridge, And I started to think about this, and then we came up with the growth acronym, those attributes mm-hmm. that successful people need. And I've observed that through my whole life, that successful people do these things because I realized, and I think it's the same with everybody, and as an FBO in your group as well, growth comes individually. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as it's business, not personal. That's ridiculous. You think about how stupid that is. I know I've said it before. Mm-hmm. It's business. Everything's personal. Everything that happens to us is a personal response. And so we said, personally, how do we help our people grow? So we gave them those, 7 attributes? Grit, represent, organized, work, together, happy, and execute. Each one of those things, if you work on those on a daily basis, will make you more successful. So we went out we started teaching this growth. If it doesn't make you grow, change it. And I would suggest to anyone, if what you're doing isn't making you grow, change it, no matter how difficult it is, because the one thing you'll never get back is time. And it disappears like water, just gone. And so you have to change it and change it fast. So that's what we did. We went out. The first year, we changed the company from 10% down to 0. A 10% global swing. Didn't change the product, didn't change the marketing plan, didn't change anything other than this mindset. And we started to generate a momentum, you know. And so if someone's listening and saying, what has it got to do with me? They do the same thing. Copy what we did, is generate a growth mindset, ask your people to do certain things, get the momentum going. And subsequently, we've had an 18.5% in sales globally based on that fundamental attribute of improving into a growth mindset. Along the way, we've made a lot of improvements. We changed personnel everywhere. You know, we've if you aren't subscribed to the way that we want to do this, mudança. You know, it's going to change.
Yes.
And nothing will stop us. Nothing will stand in our way from presenting the very best opportunity to our FBOs. Not the easiest, but one that is going to be long-term and stable.
Sustainable?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a lot of talking.
No, but then I just want to say to everybody that
Goodbye.
is listening, no, stay here. Those 7 values, those 7 points that Aidan just mentioned, we are going to talk to you much more in details to bring to you, because I'm sure it's going to change you and all your results.
Yeah, and me every day.
Yeah, because it first changed you, no?
Oh.
And then, so tell about your fitness life.
Yeah, so I was like in the Navy, I was pretty super fit, you know, and then I stayed fit till I was about 40, and then around about 40, 45, for some reason I just let go, and I just stopped, and I, you know, like I said earlier, I could eat anything. Olympic champion eater. Just something snapped in me, and you know, and I let myself go for a while. Put on some weight, blood pressure went up, started to feel not myself a little bit, you know, and I was like fighting against, like walking uphill almost all the time. And so even before this, I realized that needed to change. And I don't want to boast about it because it's hard. It is really, really, really hard. And that's why I have that social media presence, which is kind of fun, you know, and it's just to show how unbelievably difficult it is to succeed. But if I can do it as a fat 57-year-old, if I can do it, oh gosh, you can do it, right? And so I started to eat a little bit better. I went to, had my blood looked at, you know.
Eat a little better.
Yeah, you shouldn't be so judgmental, you know. I'm fighting jet lag and I'm a long way from home, so I'm doing my best.
Okay.
Traveling with
I send Laura what you ate here.
Yeah.
Then she can keep an eye on.
Well, she doesn't have to, because you're here moaning out
Okay.
about thinking protein and da. Not letting me have my Diet Coke in the morning.
Yeah, it's so
coffee.
weird. It's so weird to drink Diet Coke in the morning, for breakfast. Yeah,
For you.
It's not healthy.
For
You know,
For me, it works perfectly.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
my son, just to tell you a story about Coke, we always tell our son, João Paulo, don't drink it. It's very bad for your health. And one day when he was older, he said, but you drink. And then I had no answer to say. And this point was because he wanted to try it. So in that moment that we didn't give him an example, when you say something, but you do different, we just said, okay, you can try it. You know, we were very lucky because he hated it.
Oh, don't worry, he'll find something.
Yeah, but then it's just this, that if you are healthy, like, you know, just need to take out things that
It's energy.
yeah.
You know, wellness is all about energy. Life takes a lot of energy, and the more energetic you can be, the more helpful it is for success. That's all that wellness part was, and that's the physical part of it: emotional, mental, physical. Occupational, environmental. All of these things are vital too. The idea of mental well-being: be ever learning. You know, to think that you've reached a certain point that you don't need to learn anymore, of course not.
But I can imagine also today when you were at the sea, you were working not only your physical health, but also your mental.
Oh,
I think
it's 90% mental.
I think you can bring what happened like, in terms that it was
Yeah.
tough and you saw the boil.
It's
Yeah.
90% mental working out. You know, like it's like losing weight. Losing weight is 80% what you eat and 20% exercise.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, 90% of working out for me is mental. It's that willingness to win. And my victories are very difficult to see from the outside, but on the inside, they're massive, you know, and like this morning, it was quite rough in the ocean. And for 90% of the time, you can't see where you're going. And every now and again, the wave goes up as your head's up. And at that moment, you get a flash of light, a direction to go, and you see the buoy that you're aiming for. And then for the next 10 strokes, you don't see anything. It's a great analogy for success, is that more often than not, and since I've been in this job, more often than not, I have absolutely no idea where the end is. I know the direction I'm supposed to be going in, but because of the distractions and the buffeting and the waves and the sun in your eyes and all these different things, you lose track of it. But the idea is to be mentally strong enough that that vision never leaves I can see that yellow triangle in my head always. That's the same as forever. And so when I'm swimming in that environment, I'm a little bit scared. I'm wondering, I'm in very deep water. I'm very far out. Do I have the strength to get back? Do I know the direction to get back? What happens if this goes wrong? What happens if a shark's going to eat me from underneath? All of those things are going through your mind as you fight for success too. Is that, you know, say you set yourself an example, I want to be an Eagle manager. Probably 80% of that journey, you're off track. The person didn't call you back. They didn't generate the case credit. They didn't buy that product. There was a return. The guy didn't show up. These are those moments when we're off track. But if you keep that buoy, that eagle in your vision and you point all things towards that, and every stroke drives towards that, and every stroke you try to make as efficient and effective as possible, all of a sudden you'll look up and it'll be right there. You know, and it's like, oh, you know, and that's how it's been for me in this journey. You know, is that, you know, to think that we could have turned the company around like we have is nothing short of miraculous. And I do attribute that. I'm a religious guy, and I honestly think that we've had God's help, because there's no way in hell that we would have done it without him. And I hope I don't offend anyone with that, but that's just the way I see it, because it's just, it would have been too difficult without divine help. And that's been, it's been humbling, you know, and I think that all of us need to recognize one of the biggest things for me with spiritual health is one of them, is not necessarily who you worship, because that's not it's none of my business, but the ability to recognize that you are smaller than something, that you are subject to something, that you are part of something bigger, I think is really good for us. That humility helps us to be a better person. It helps us, like you said, when you said, I don't want the spotlight, it helps us to shine the spotlight. Like Greg always teaches, when we arrive, we don't say, here I am. We say, there you are. I think that spiritual health allows us to do that a little bit more authentically.
That's nice. So just move on the 3 important pillars where we are move on in wellness, community, and finance. So you talked about wellness here.
Yeah.
And then in community, you brought about Brazil and how we already have community. So how can we really be strong on that? But also in community, you said, and have the challenge on being digital. And I know there is a lot of FBOs, mainly in other countries, working hard and successfully in digital. So what is digital?
Well, that's a great question. And I think this is Aidan's perception. And I think there's probably smarter people out there that are going to disagree with me. And that's fine, because I'm not well educated in this. As you know, you were teaching me how to use Instagram yesterday. I didn't even know, what was it called? Requests?
You know, everybody from Brazil, if you have tagged Aidan in your Instagram when you were in the event and he didn't repost, is because he just found out there was a lot of you blocked on his Instagram. Everybody. I say thousands of people. And that was so weird because I say a guy that have like 50,000 followers and his stories are so poor is because of that. He didn't know how to use it.
No, it's like, I even sent a note to the office, said, you guys never told me there was a thing called requests. And there was hundreds of them, wasn't we? were scrolling through. So genuinely, I am so sorry. I had no idea until I was sat with Paolo on the plane. So the way I see digital is years ago, one of the aspects of success in our business is to invite other people to buy the product or join the business. That's kind of like the fundamental piece. And then the piece in that is trying to find the people to connect with. Because, you know, I honestly believe, and this may sound negative, but hear me out for a second, about 1 or 2% of the population are interested in what we do. 98% aren't. Think about 2% of the population. I bet you not more than 0.2% of the population are teachers. Imagine if you could have every teacher in your business. That's only 0.2% of the population. You know what I mean? So the idea that this is a tiny fraction in your world, it's billions, right? Or millions at least. So what social media or digital allows us to do is to find more effectively. The message stays the same. So the idea that I need to generate a new message, no, a more refined message, of course, because the more professional we get. So for example, we used to get names out of the phone book. I used to write the name and the number and I'd call them. Or we'd put cards, or we'd knock on doors. Well, now the card is social media. The door is social, you know what I mean? And so the list is, and so we need to, so the way my vision for digital is probably twofold. I'm going to, from an FBO point of view, is tell your authentic story, but tell it well. Like Swellen said, clean your camera, make sure your microphone works, those kind of things. Learn how to use CapCut. CapCut, you learned? Yeah, you know, like no disrespect to a monkey, but a monkey could learn how to use CapCut, you know, and it just spend a little bit of time. It reminds me of my mom. My mom, before she died, she was complaining about social media. And I don't understand it. I don't know what to do. You know, you know, and you've all heard, you know, grandmas talk that way. And then my sister sat down with her, bought her an iPad and said, this is Facebook. This is how you use it. Dude, she was posting, like, phoning, sharing videos. She this cat, you know. So here's an expression. I don't understand electricity, but I refuse to sit in the dark. Great. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even though you don't understand social media, tell your story. Turn the switch on, light up the room. And that's how I see digital from an FBO point of view, is use it as a way to show people who you are authentically, truthfully. Don't make stupid claims. Don't make income claims. Don't make medical claims. You don't need to today. Maybe years ago. Today, people are interested in your authentic story. Perfect example. Here's me running along the beach, doing the best I can to be better. 50,000 people watch that. Some videos, and I don't say this to boast, 300, 400,000 views. I have no idea why. No idea. You know, I don't even know how to use it. Now, on a company side, a little bit different. It's a lot more professional. Yes. So on the company side of things, we have a vision to digitalize the company. The first thing that we've been working on, and it's been going on for now about 8 years, is taking the marketing plan to the cloud. Because the marketing plan historically sat on AS400 computers in every office. So we've had to take that and push it to the cloud. That's been a mass, and the FBO hasn't seen that because it happens underground, like when you're building a house. Think about when you break the ground, you put the plumbing, you put the electrics, no one sees anything and nothing looks great until the frame starts to go up. We're just about getting to the framing stage now, and the FBO will be able to see it. So we moved from these AS400 systems around the world to a cloud-based system. That cloud-based system allows them all to talk at the same time. So there will be a time when we have a business without borders. a business out of the borders within the forever ecosphere, but not within governments, because you can't transfer money across borders without, so the idea that an FBO is going to get paid one bonus check, governments don't allow that. You earn money in Brazil, you earn money in France, you're going to be paid in those entities. And so that was our first goal, is to cloud base it. And then we had to look for a global ERP. And that process is 30% in, and we're moving forward with a system that allows us to have a instant vision of the financial health of the company. Because up until this point, that wasn't available. And that is more like, we have consolidated financials now. We have consolidated logistics reports, inventory reports. It's amazing how much more efficient and effective we are because of that. Now, I know the FBO, that's not, of course we should do that kind of thing, but I want them to be aware that this is probably 20 to 25 million a year gets invested into, and that's just at our side, not on the country base. Then now we have to make a decision about apps. Apps are extremely expensive to create, and once they go into the Apple or the Chrome store, they're extremely expensive to manage because they want 30% of everything you do. So we are trialing an AWP, which is an web-based app.
Okay.
Which is where it has an app interface that goes straight to the web. The good side about that is we have 100% control. The bad side is it has a refreshing process to it. We're looking at that in India right now to see how that's working. Because we recognize that mobile is the future. I don't know the exact number, but I bet you it's in excess of 85% of all e-commerce goes through mobile, especially in South America, Latin America, and Africa. For sure, all transactions are done on mobile.
Yeah.
And so we have to get much more efficient on mobile. So our vision is, from an FBO point of view, use it as an authentic way to tell your story. On a company's point of view, is that we're making as much strides as we can to push us into what we call digital brilliance. And that also includes the company is going to get much more involved in telling forever story digitally. Then AI. Okay, so now we have the framework of what our digital window is going to look like. And another piece that might not be so interesting in the FBO is that if we do this all linear, it'll take 100 years. If we do France, then Germany, then England, then Brazil, it doesn't work. So we had to generate an extremely intelligent system. And so now the idea is you have a base of APIs, and each country now plugs in to the API so they can be working on it. What that means is you can see your case credits all over the world instantly, is you can transact without borders. And you can see if I'm an Eagle manager instantly. Those are the kind of things that we're working towards.
But all you are saying in such a way that directly or indirectly the FBOs, we are going to be more effective. Our customer experience through the whole journey is going to be much better. Yeah. In terms of access and so.
But it's going to take time.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
like the 3 years, we're turning the business around from an emotional place. We remind me to talk to you about the investments at Ava as well, and then but I want to talk about AI as well in that digital experience. Currently, we see AI as supporting the message. We don't see it yet as creating the message. We're not confident enough. So when I say supporting, translations, clarifications, information, we see AI as being part of that. I think it has a huge role. In fact, if you open source already is most of our global company policies. The Brazil one's up there in Portuguese. So if you say, what does it take to be an Eagle manager in Brazil? It'll tell you. Okay. Those, we've already made those strides. I think the next part of that journey is customer service. To have kind of a, frequently asked questions, those kind of things in the AI sort of section. As it improves, I think it's going to be huge for product. Is AI can tell your customer what the product does. You understand what I'm saying?
For
there?
sure.
It's not us.
And also can help you on what to say in your videos. Yes. Like in your social medias, that today you need to go to a a paper,
Yeah.
digitally studied, and sometimes take time, see a training. So yeah.
It's part of your workflow.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we see AI right now. We also use it to analyze data. You can throw, like, a perfect example is they recorded my presentation we did a country manager meeting, they recorded it, uploaded it. And so I can refer to that, I write questions and it answers based on the structure we set out in Paris. That's an amazing tool. You can do the same as an FBO, is record what you do, put it up there and ask, and it can keep your message consistent. So that we see that as a big part of the future. I don't see it leading the company just yet. That might be my age and someone younger will come on, but I just don't see enough value in it making decisions for us. I see it helping us to come to the crunching of the data much more effectively. But
I think it's save times on doing all analysis, but then analyze the information and data is still with us, no? Because it's not only data. We were talking about this yesterday, no? Numbers sometimes doesn't show everything that is behind. So we still need someone that knows how to do it, know the story behind the numbers to take the best decisions.
Yeah. I want to also mention the role of what I think the role of technology is, as far as from a recruitment point of view, is that please use it as a tool only and as an extension of your message. Don't let it create your message for you, because then you become just one of the crowd. If you look at what we do, we all have the same product, and people in Brazil have the same geography, they have the same language. The only thing you can compete with is you. You are the unique selling point. Don't dilute that through the filter of AI.
Yeah, for sure.
You keep it as three-dimensional as you are.
And it's your story, what you said in the beginning. If you go digitally, tell your story, it's your connection. So if you put a chat GPT to do everything, it's not going to be yours. Yeah. So I want to move on because you are talking digitally. So there is another subject here, not only in Brazil for sure, it's about selling our products on marketplaces. And how do you see these? Because in my experience, we're not going against it. It's just impossible. So what do you see about marketplace in Brazil?
It's a contentious subject. And I understand why an FBO is worried about it. I really do. And I understand that this idea that somebody that I'm working with on a personal basis can find the product cheaper, more conveniently, it's very difficult. And I appreciate that. But I liken this to Kodak. Do you remember the Kodak
Yes,
company?
For sure. They want to take pictures.
Yeah. And I don't know the exact story, but anecdotally, Kodak they were all chemists. All of the people that were successful in Kodak worked chemistry.
Yeah.
And they, because they were masters at film and the development of film. And then all of a sudden someone came in with this camera. I think it was a 2-megapixel digital camera. And they took a picture. It was poor quality. And, and Kodak decided that they would stay with what they were brilliant at. And they were the best in the world by miles of film. And then the world said, I don't want film. So one of the most powerful companies in the world went into Chapter 11. They didn't go under. They recovered, thankfully. Because all of the people in the boardroom were chemists. We have to be very careful that all of the people in our boardroom aren't too old-fashioned. Now, I understand how difficult that is to hear. And I understand that that's a little bit scary, but I think there's a middle ground. Because digital commerce is here to stay. To be honest, I don't think cash will be around for much longer. I think that everything is going to happen digitally. And I think that includes how we transact. So we have to get ahead of that. We have to try and take the belly-to-belly, face-to-face model of MLM, which we love, and marry it with a global marketplace. And I think that and it isn't a perfect model, but the way that we're trying to do that is what the FBO is worried about is case credits and profit. I will lose volume and money to somebody else who hasn't done anything, which in the honesty of this conversation, the thought that that person hasn't done anything isn't true, because to create an effective online shop is quite difficult. There's very few in the world that are actually good at it. So what we believe, and we're trialing in other places in the world, is we have a pool system. The Forever Living Products Brazil creates a marketplace, and it's a good one. It's high quality, it's SEO supported, so the searches go there. We keep the prices at retail price, but we guarantee service, next day delivery, returns are processed quickly, and the product is available. That's all right. And the product's available. We compete in that because we have to compete in the sense of product availability, returns, quality. All these guarantees attract people to our site. And then the other sites, we don't know. We don't know what quality that is. I don't know if it's fake. I don't know anything about it. So we tell Mercado Libre, hey, we're here. We have the APIs on this product. We're here. This is our product. They support us in that. Then all of the transactions that happen on that volume and profit is shared with a list of FBOs that have decided to participate in that pooling. Now we pay Amazon, Mercado Libre about 30% of the transaction, because that's what they charge to do that. The rest goes right back to the FBO. And we believe that's a good middle ground. Why do we want to be there? Not to compete with the FBO, of course not. If we wanted to compete with the FBO, it would have been over a long time ago. It's a very lazy mindset to think that Forever's on Mercado Libre because they want to compete with the FBO. Be a little bit more creative in your thinking. It's a waste of our time to do that to make money. We can make money in other ways. We're there because we want to control the marketplace for the quality and price as best we can. And there will be times when we can't because someone is more effective, and we'll try and get more effective over here. And that balance is going to come. We've been doing it in Germany for a while. We do it in the US. It's very successful in the US. More people want to join the program. And I think that that's somewhere that we're heading towards. But the idea that there's an expectation that the company can just control global e-commerce, we can't. And if I'm honest with you, I don't know if I want to. Because I think that we cannot be chemists when you need digital engineers. I think that it's a pivotal moment for our. Now, the follow-on to that is, how do we feel about online e-commerce as far as influencers and affiliates? We have affiliates. It's our FBOs. They've always been our affiliates. And so we're not looking to create affiliate relationships. We have those. It's our marketing plan, and we love it. And so that's not going to change. But we are going to become a little bit more digitally mobile. Yeah.
You told the Kodak story. I remember also Blockbuster, when they had the chance to buy Netflix and they didn't. So it's this. There is something happening, and we cannot just say we are in the past. This is not part of Forever, because I listen a lot. This is not what Forever wants, but this is the new world. And the new generation is buying on these channels. So, it's a way, we need to find this way to be together, like all the channels. It's also about who is buying the product. Because at the end, who decides who is the other side. So, yes, at the end is, you cannot like it, but in fact, also you do. Brazil is very digital in terms of e-commerce, as you said. A lot of people buys at Mercado Libre and any other e-commerce. So thinking that we are going to be isolated in retail, it's not part of the new world. That is move on.
It's defeatist mindset. We can't go there. And going back to your Blockbusters, another thing that's really interesting about that was, one of the reasons Blockbuster failed, yes, they missed the Netflix revolution, but they also were making more money from finding people than they were selling videos. They'd forgotten their core competency. And that's what we have to do. We have to stay core at what we do well. And what we do well is to share an opportunity in a product with individuals. That's where our focus needs to be. If Blockbuster, they were finding people more and more and more, and their revenue was going up. But somebody didn't say, hey, we should be selling more videos.
I would like now to move on this subject in specific, because you talked about leadership, management, And now I really would like to move on to product because it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And can I tell you my experience with products?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So when I first received a box of products in my home, it's like a kid receive a toy. It was me because I didn't know them. And I started trying the deodorant, you say in English? Yeah. I used to inch with some other deodorants. And this one, I said, wow, finally I found something that is amazing for me.
Hey, remind me, because I'm testing one here.
Yeah?
I can let you try that one.
Okay.
Because it's a brand new one coming.
Okay. So for me, it was just amazing. I mean, it helped me a lot. And then I started to try other products. And then my husband, you met him. He loved all the supplements. Move. So the box was full of products. No, it was full of products. Yeah. And he started reading all of them and say, this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. I say, okay, they sent to me, not to you. So I love our products. And I think they're the best, really. And also in my home now, everybody's using aloe. Due to my son has Crohn's disease. So we know how this can help him on this process. So thank you so much for doing those products. And can you tell me more about product innovation? We know we have some lack of products last year. And
Yeah. So that's two different things, product innovation and product supply.
Yeah, I know.
So we, as part of, you remember we said we were in a difficult situation. Part of that was that we were a little bit too slow in making some adjustments to our supply chain. And we've just made those now. And what it was is that the world has changed a lot since the initial model. Rex's vision was to be vertically integrated in one place. Mm-hmm. So we had aloe vera America in Dallas. We made 90% of our product there with our own aloe vera brought up from Dominican Republic or Mexico. And that process worked perfectly for 40 years, maybe a little less. But then the world started to change. You've heard about tariffs. You've heard about protectionism, where countries are starting to realize, hey, hold on, it's a much better idea if they manufacture here. And so they put every barrier in place possible to stop that happening, i.e. America sends product out. In addition to that, what worried me was a redundancy. What happens if that warehouse burns down? What happens if the fire goes or the electric goes? So I was like,
supply security.
Yeah, and Greg's vision on this was clear. He said, okay, this is what we want to do. Mm-hmm. So we started to, and the other thing that happened when the countries demanded protectionism, they did a really good thing internally. They increased the quality of domestic production unbelievably. This idea, we produce product in Romania now. We do Arctic Sea in Romania. That factory, I've never seen anything like it anywhere in the world. It is a phenomenal, modern, wonderful facility. Same in Germany, Poland, Brazil. Now, there's this idea, it's created in Brazil. It's not like that anymore. Mm-hmm. Because if they want to generate products, businesses come in and demand, you've got to make it better. You've got to make it better. And they've done an amazing job of coming up to speed. India it has a reputation maybe of not so quality product. Their manufacturing arm of nutritional supplements is unbelievable. And their creativity, innovation is amazing. So why I tell you that is we've started now to manufacture and package our product globally for those two reasons. To avoid protectionism and the costs associated with that and the issues of global. We found out during COVID where it used to be $3,000 to ship a container. It went to $18,000 in 3 weeks to ship one container, and everything stopped. We can't have that happen again. We have to have product around the world. And so that was the first part. The second part is that the quality of domestic manufacturing now is amazing. So that's part of the product innovation, is how we do it. The aloe still comes from the same fields. We have more aloe in the ground now than the demand we have. So we're prepared for an increase in demand. But when we started to move the manufacturing out of Ava, this huge warehouse, there was a big empty hole in the middle. And then we had a facility in Phoenix that would fit perfectly in that empty hole. And so we decided that we would move that facility into Ava to take advantage of the space we had and the expertise we had. That process took longer than we thought. and was
I
much
can
more
imagine.
complicated. And in that process, we learned a valuable lesson.
Hmm.
Third-party manufacturing is good, but not good enough. And that's one of the reasons why we had product shortages last year. We were transferring, and the third-party guys, as good as they were, just weren't good enough.
Mhm.
And we kept rejecting. In addition to that, we had issues, some supply chain issues with Brazil specifically. And I don't know if we're completely through that yet, but we're very close to that. In fact, we will be announcing some really exciting things in probably the next 6 to 8 weeks for Brazil as far as new product, some introducing some global product here. And definitely, I'm very excited about domestic manufacturing. So that's a little bit on the logistics side. A little bit higher, I think, is your question. What's the innovation strategy? Remember, Kodak needed to stay with their core competency.
Mhm.
Aloe is our core competency. So I think you're going to see a little bit more in the aloe range. We're looking at other delivery methods of aloe. We're even investigating powdered versions and all this sort of stuff. Now, I don't know if they're coming to market.
Okay.
We're just looking at them.
Yeah.
We're looking at different ways to filter the aloe to be more effective. And we're looking at a lot more flavors. In fact, India is going to be trialing some new flavors for us, which are very exciting. And they will be LTO flavors, just limited time flavors. They come in and out of the market.
That's
We're
nice.
working on that. And we have been a little bit bold in the skincare market recently. We've recognized that skincare is a huge market for us, and we're not bringing color cosmetics back.
Mhm.
We're not good enough for it. It's just too complicated, too expensive. So we wanted to try and bolster the skincare market. We've launched the new Logic line. Do you have that in Brazil yet?
Not yet, but we are studying. Brazil is 50% are drinks
Yeah.
and 35% are nutrition. So
Okay.
skincare is very little.
skincare, yeah.
And we have lots of competitors for skincare. So
Yeah, yeah.
we must be very, in terms of pricing, so we are
So
all
we might look at
discussing.
domestic manufacturing.
Yeah.
But on
So
the nutritional
Yeah.
line is where we're putting a lot of energy now, and we're trialing a product right now that I'm taking that I'm as excited as I was about Freedom.
wow.
Freedom, I don't know if I have time to tell you a story, but
Yeah.
Freedom came, I was driving to work, and there was a guy on the radio 20 years ago, and he was talking about glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM, and how good they were for
Mhm.
joints and to promote proper movement. And I thought to myself, what would happen if you mixed chondroitin, glucosamine, and MSM with aloe vera? So we literally, it was a phone call.
Mhm.
The scientists put it together safely, and they sent it up. The taste I couldn't even swallow it. You imagine 3 sulfurs mixed with aloe vera.
Yeah.
But there was a guy that just had back surgery, and he had some positive results. That was how Freedom started, as simple as that was. So why I tell you that is there's a new Freedom coming out. Do you have Freedom here?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
No, we used to have freedom, no? Yes, now not anymore.
Then the new one might be compliant here, and it's a much smoother flavor.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about that one. But we have some great vitamin D. The one we just launched is a brilliant product. We're looking at a vegetarian source, sustainable source of Arctic Sea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not one that's not fish based and one that's algae based. We're trialing that right now, and a fiber product, which I think is incredible.
Okay.
And fiber is I think one of the most underutilized supplements in the world today, because it's stripped out of our food a lot, and I think it's brilliant. So
Yeah, I'm very, very excited on see these products, but much more on have here all the products that we need to grow Brazil. So I know we are just
but think
organizing
about
this.
Japan is number 1 in the world.
It
and they
has
have
20, yeah.
30 products, 20.
Yeah, we did this exercise also here to
Yeah.
see what we're having, but all the drinks, we are just organized the stock and prepared to be number 1 again.
Yeah.
So I think we are here for more than 1 hour. Is it like almost 1 hour? See? You thought it would be difficult.
Hey, I'm just performing for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Before
So-
we close,
Yeah, I want you to say.
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to share some thoughts. but also want to reiterate how excited we are to have you on board.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot about you in the last 3 days, but I didn't need to know any more about you than the first time that we met you. That you came authentically, and you came and said, I just want to make the world a better place. Just the same motivation that you had to paint those rooms is why you'll do fabulous here. And like, remember you said to me, you didn't ask me about my experience.
Yeah.
You didn't ask me about this. I didn't need to. I read your resume, and that's what's going to make you successful here. But be patient. And I would ask our FBOs to be patient too, is that we're talking about some amazing things, and they're going to want them all tomorrow, and they won't come tomorrow, not even next week. It's going to take some time. So enjoy the journey. I think you're going to do a fabulous job. I think that you'll bring an energy to Brazil that they need, and so I wish you and we're here to help.
And I also thank you for the opportunity of being here. I know it's unique. Probably there is a lot of people that could sit in my chair in Brazil. We have amazing professionals here, but I'm very glad that you chose me. Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to say also, finally, I want to recognize Garen and Greg in the process. Those two men love this country. I'm learning to, but they've been here for, Garen's been coming here 30 years.
You want to do a blood analysis on him?
I think he's Brazilian, except the fact he's not as friendly as you guys. You know what I mean? But their commitment to your success, and if this goes global, keep it in Portuguese, I think it's more than I've ever seen for any country. They love this place, and I want to recognize that there's this great expression, the difference between pig and a chicken for breakfast.
Okay. What is the difference?
A chicken donates, a pig gives everything.
Okay.
Because bacon, huh?
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds, Greg gives everything. We're just chickens. Because this is his life, his money, his legacy.
His investment.
It's everything. And that's never lost on me. I never underestimate his willingness to put it all on the line for us. And I love that. And I hope the Brazilian FBOs and Brazilian people recognize that. Yeah.
And can I just add on that? Because I told you this is sometimes people talk a lot.
Like today?
No. Like the importance, I believe this. Yes, we are going to do it. Make promise. But for me, more than talking is the actions, are the actions. And since the beginning, you three on this interview, and then during those months, didn't need to tell me. Like, your actions show that Brazil is important. So I'm pretty confident that we have all we need really to move on to the first place.
Our leaders.
Yeah. We have all
the Brazilian leaders, man. I think of Lino and Noemia and all of their sacrifice, because they were at the top, #1 in the world. And then it came down, and they still were so low. That's just an amazing quality. And like I told you, when Lino told the story of Brazil at the global leadership training, it was silence in there, and we all had goosebumps. Everyone was crying as we realized just their commitment, and all of the leaders and the diamonds and the Eagle managers. And I want to recognize them, and we love them and their hard work.
I think we must value in relationship who stays with us on the front of the war.
Yeah.
Like, when everything is okay, there is a lot of people, but then tough times come, and who stays with you and pass through this storm are really relationships to be forever.
Our staff here.
Yeah, for sure. You think
10
15
years, 20 years recognition.
They're also warriors on the battles for forever.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Shut up now, huh?
Final words to them?
My final words is, this building is a beautiful metaphor of where forever is right now. This building is wonderful. It has an amazing legacy. It is one of the most beautiful homes in Brazil, and it served us incredibly well, and will serve us in the near future. But it also stands as a little bit of a monument of the past. Our job is to thank it, just like we thank the past. to rebuild it as best we can and leave it for somebody else. Because the future is modern, it is bright, it is clean, it is exciting, it is without borders. It doesn't have walls and gates. That's how I visually see Forever. And if you get the chance, look at some of the other offices with the open plan and the purpose-built opportunity to, so use that as an analogy as you see respect and love the past and learn from it, but we're not going to live in it.
Thank you so much. Aidan, was just amazing.
De nada.
De nada. Se você gostou desse conteúdo, se você realmente acha que ele é importante, que pode te ajudar na sua rede com outros FBOs, eu te convido a compartilhar. E a seguir o Aidan também nas redes sociais. Your Instagram. You wanna give here?
Yeah, let's go, James.
It's Aidan O'Hare, yes?
Yeah.
A gente vai colocar aqui embaixo para você segui-lo.
And if you follow me, I know how to recognize you now.
Agora ele aprendeu a te responder. Então, obrigada, que você possa realmente tirar desse podcast muitas dicas, muitos insights para o seu negócio, para a sua prosperidade. Um beijo e até a próxima.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.